going to call on our next panel, which will be moderated by our illustrious leader in this movement, Elise Roper.
All right.
Yeah, share with you.
Because we are joined at the hip, remember? Yes. All right, that was very impactful. Can you all hear me? Okay. I just want to state that Alina is a clinical psychologist. And she owes a $27 million restitution. Prior to my being incarcerated in 2015 for mail fraud, I was the managing partner of a small minority law firm in Chicago. As I stated before, this was my first time ever encountering the criminal justice system. I admit I made some poor judgments. I have accepted responsibility for my actions and have served my time. Drug and other criminal offenders are able to serve their time and are allowed an opportunity to get back on their feet. Yet, with white-collar offenders such as myself, we are looked upon in a different light. All of the women on this panel were prosecuted as a result of the mortgage and financial meltdown between 2008 and 2013. The government will have you believe that our actions were solely responsible for the financial collapse during this period, but in fact, it was due to the industry practices that caused this. The banks were charged civilly and heavily fined, but those who made the rules and decisions were never indicted. Yet the government is holding me responsible to pay $5 million in restitutions for intended losses versus actual losses to entities that are no longer in business. A few weeks ago, I was in a big box store trying to just check out, get my groceries, and my card was declined. I've used this card for many years, and so when this happened, I'm like, what is going on? And luckily, my husband was with me that day because I am an authorized user on this particular account. So we called the credit card company, and the man said, well, ma'am, is your husband there? Because I cannot speak with you. And I'm like, what's going on? And the person on the other line said, she is no longer an authorized user. I had just used the card previously, maybe the week before. And when we got home, we actually got the letter from this particular bank stating that I was someone that the bank no longer wanted to service. All of these women on our panel were professional women, thriving in their careers, yet because of a mistake, they are living a life sentence. At this time, I'd like to turn over to the panel and ask each one of you to introduce yourselves and state your restitution amount.
Good afternoon. My name is Lori K. Westerfield. My restitution amount at this time is approximately $1 million as far as my balance, and I served 54 months in a federal facility.
I'm Kelly Opie-Shaken, and my restitution amount is $26,600,000, and I served 46 months in federal prison.
Hi, my name is Tanya Pierce. My restitution is $2.4 million, and I served 21 months in federal prison.
My name is Kathy Kissick, and my restitution is $500,524,882. And I served 8 years, in federal prison. Seemed like 8 months, though.
All right, so I want to start with Lori. Lori was one of the women who originally worked with me to seek out how we could get rid of restitution, Lori and Callie. And I want Lori to share her story as far as how restitution has impacted her life. I'm going to ask each woman, but I'm going to start with Lori first.
I'm going to share a specific story in the interest of time. I was also a practicing attorney and very much a true believer and an advocate in my life. So I believed in redemption. That's part of our faith values, or whatever faith you may practice. So what crystallized for me that my restitution had become a life sentence is I spent my time rebuilding my credit and trying to be consistent in my employment. As been already noted, it's raising your income can be challenging, but at least consistency. And so I was successful in that, and I was able to get pre-approved for a mortgage. So I was excited because I had lost my home prior to entering federal prison, and the opportunity to buy a home was exciting for me. And I got my pre-approval, was searching, going through my underwriting process once I got my commitment from a seller. And during that process, they did a name search. And I was a little bit gullible because I think, as Shay mentioned, normally you expect your judgment to be your DOJ judgment or lien to be on your credit report, and mine was not. So I thought they had not gone to lien, and I naively thought that because I was what I felt was in compliance. I made my payments. But when the title company did that name search, that lien popped up with close to $1 million on the face value, and you can imagine how a lender and all the other parties of that transaction reacted. What have you done? Who are you? So that effectively killed my deal and killed my dream to own a home. And effectively, I realized that because I'm sure you've probably observed that many mature women, we look wonderful, but we're mature women. Yes, we're coached by Topeka. But we're mature women. So,
Lori,
I'm sorry, I went off script.
what did the lien say when
Oh,
you pulled it up?
yeah, that was another thing that was shocking to me, because there's a caption on the top of the lien that referenced that it was enacted under an Anti-Terrorism Act of the United States. And so you can imagine my loan officer is reading this. Girl, what did you do? Who are you? I can't get a letter for this. No, there was no explanation letter that was going to explain this away. So at that point, it was clear to me that purchasing a home for me was a wrap, and thus restitution had become a life sentence. That all my hopes and dreams of home ownership just went up in that moment. But again, we're here today because we're still true believers.
I'm Callie, and my restitution has totally. I'm living with it, and it's. I lost all my independence. I've been working since I was 13 years old, and the biggest thing for me was to be independent woman. I didn't need to depend on anybody. Now, coming out of prison, I have to live with my daughter because I can't get a place of my own. I am a mature woman. I'm 63 years old, and restitution is something we have to pay for 20 years. Brings me to 80 years old, where my restitution will finally be at the 20-year mark. And so that just forces me into a situation, because they're going to be taking my Social Security, part of my Social Security, in order to pay that restitution. And it's going to force me into a position where I have to work until then to be able to survive, even if I'm living with my daughter and her family, which is a burden to them, I'm sure, because, I mean, who wants to live with their mother, let's be real, and mother-in-law, so for the rest of my life, I'll be living like that. And I mean, I was a first-time offender. I realized I made mistakes, and we paid for them. We paid for them by our time, our days in prison away from our family. And it's just sitting here and thinking about that, I'll never be able to live that independent life again. I won't be able. It's hard. It's very hard.
Hi, my name is Tanya Pierce. Prior to my case, I owned a property management company. And after coming home, I knew that things would change. I made my mistakes. I said, all right, I can reinvent myself. I went back, I got my MBA. Shortly, COVID came in, so I said, whew, okay, I'm off for supervised release. I have an MBA. I'm gonna go and reinvent myself and have a job and find a new job, a new career. Well, the realization of my restitution kicks in because the judgment was blanket everywhere. I couldn't find a job, I couldn't apply for a credit card, and it really dawned on me that this is a life sentence. And I can't even get a credit card to rent a car. So I thank Reform for bringing me here today because they reserved the room. Because I would have had to use a debit card and they would have charged the money automatically that I don't have. If I go to rent a car, they want 2 and 3 times the amount, which I don't have. So this is truly a life sentence for us in so many ways. And I can't even afford to die at this point because that's a liability because I don't have life insurance. So when does it end? When does it end? I've listened to my sister here, Callie. I can't even retire. I'm not going to get my benefits when I get to 65. So I don't know at this point, without remission, I'm the living dead. And until I met Elise, I was at that point. I was at that point until I met Elise. All hope was lost. And today, I'm very emotional because a sister of ours cannot be here. And her mother is facing cancer treatment. But instead of her going to her treatment, she's praying for us. And I'm very thankful to Topeka, to Elise, to seeing Jamila here, because we have cried together for this. We have cried over this. We didn't know. We accept our mistake, but we didn't know the impact. And here is the jewel of the day.
I'm really the fake diamond in the bubblegum machine, so, because that's all I can afford. My name is Kathy Kissick, and I was in banking for 25 years, and I still tragically dress like a banker most of the time. But I was in banking 25 years. I was an executive at a bank and got caught up in trying to save the bank the wrong way. And my customer did some bad things, and I didn't know about most of them, and that doesn't excuse it. But when I was sentenced to 8 years, and I was so shocked at the 8 years, my knees collapsed because I thought, oh my God, I'll never see my kids graduate from high school or college, and I just collapsed. But they didn't even discuss anything about restitution. I did not get my letter about restitution until I was already at camp. And my roommate at Coleman, or my bunkie, as we say, at Coleman I got my letter and it says, you owe $500,524,882. Please send a check to the US Department of Justice. So my roommate, and I'll just call her name was Stony. I won't say her full name, but she goes by Stony. She said, ooh, bunkie, I could make you a nice check. Because because she was there on counterfeit. The Secret Service got her on counterfeit. She said, she goes, I did a great job. I go, well, obviously not, because you're here. And she said it was the Statue of Liberty got her messed up occasionally. But anyways, so that was the little levity, but it was kind of like so ridiculous. And I remember calling my attorney on the Corlings thing, and he's like, Kathy, don't worry about it. It's ridiculous. You'll never be able to pay it. Just go on. And then I was like, crying and wasting my 30 cents a minute crying to him. And he said, look at Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart has reinvented her life. When you get out, you can reinvent your life too. I go, Martha Stewart's got millions of dollars and only had to pay $250,000. I have maybe $250 and I have to pay $500 million. It didn't work. So anyways, this is the first time that I've been together with everyone that I have not cried. And I have a saying at home that I always say, I'm not going to let the terrorists win. And you can say, fill in the blank, whoever you think the terrorists are in my life. I know who they are. I won't say them, but whatever. But I won't let them win. I get very upset. I feel like my life is over. When I was sentenced and all this stuff, I thought, oh my God, I might just go run in front of this car. And my girlfriend that I was walking with said, Kathy, don't do that, because you're just going to damage the car and become paralyzed, and then they'll sue you. I go, that's probably true. That is my luck. So the thing is that I am trapped. I can't do anything. I am working 3 jobs because they put a lien on our house. They put a lien on what's left of my retirement, because I worked for the bank and the banks went under and I don't have a retirement anymore. So basically I have what's in my checking account, and that's it. I work the 3 jobs because our house is old. Everything breaks, and we have no way to repair them other than cash. And so that's my story. It's just the way it is. And if I could turn back time, I would. I can't. And I feel like I'm a good person, and I volunteer for my community, but I've got this lead weight around me.
So keep the mic. So I'd like for each of you to tell the audience who you are.
Who I am.
Who you are. What do you want them to know about you? Other than you.
Do I have to go first?
Yes.
I am Kathy, and I'm a mom of 2 wonderful boys. And I love my friends and my family, and I'm a good, decent person and a hard worker.
Hi, my name is Tanya. I am my sister's keeper. I am an avid Marvel comic collector. And I love being around my sisters. I couldn't imagine this life without you guys. And for the future, I'm excited to visit each and every one of these cities, even Arkansas one day. and I'm just a person looking for a second chance, an opportunity to show that one mistake doesn't define me. Thank you.
I'm Callie, and I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother, a new grandmother. And I've always been a hard worker, an honest person my whole life. I made a mistake, and I'm so sorry for it, but I've always worked with my community. When the housing market was crashing, I was helping a church and their parishioners stay in their properties. I helped at-risk children. That's my biggest thing, is helping people. It's in my heart, and like she said, I just don't want that mistake to define me.
First and foremost, I'm a Black woman in America, and I embrace my community. I'm from the South Side of Chicago, and so if you know, if you know Chicago, we rep our neighborhoods. I specifically live in the South Shore community, which is directly south of Hyde Park, and many people know Hyde Park internationally because of the Obamas. So I'm south of there. But one theme I hope you're picking up on is that most of us, we were your neighbors, your family members, people you saw at church. I was already engaged in my community since I was a little one because I modeled my parents and they were engaged in the community. So I was doing that anyway. Now, has it been amplified by this experience? Absolutely. You know, as far as expanding my interest in social justice issues, but that was not new for me. But what's most important for me to model now, especially in my community, because like around the country, we're experiencing challenges with violence. We're considering, in Chicago, we have a lot of challenges in our school systems. We have students graduating who aren't literate. They can't read. That's what that means. And so I'm trying to model resiliency even though I went through this event in my life, I'm still pressing. I'm still moving forward. I'm still trying to lift myself and that it can be done. Now, granted, have we outlined that this is an obstacle for us? But it's just that. And we know with organizations like Lady of Hope Ministry under the leadership of Dr. Topeka Sam, that we can overcome these things with policy, ultimately changes to our federal code. And we just have to model that. We believe in that. We're going to advocate for that. And we know that there are allies in this room and allies watching that are going to help us, So that's my responsibility, just to keep being, I'm a bit of a Black nerd. You probably picked up on that, so, but I believe.
All right.
Okay.
We have a few minutes. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask our panelists? You all did such a wonderful job. No questions? I asked that last question because I didn't want them to be seen as white-collar offenders. I wanted them to be seen as people. And that's what each one of us wants to be seen as. Everybody has made a mistake. Ours has just been caught. That's the only difference between me and you.
Amen.
And so I want us to remember as we move forward in this fight, the faces that you are seeing today. And again, we ask for you to bring your support to help us in this life sentence of restitution. Thank you.
Amen.